So, what language does AI think in? Well, it depends on the AI. So, two AIs I was talking to recently had two very different answers. So, firstly, GPT. It thinks in English. Its main training materials were in English. So it thinks in English and it defaults to English language sources. So if you're talking about it with about, for example, current affairs and the news, even if you're talking about a non-English speaking country, it'll default to see what English news, the big famous, AP, Reuters, whatever, is saying about that country, rather than looking at the news source from that country. Now you can tell it to go and look in whatever language at a country's news source, but its default, if you don't specify that, is to go to the English one. So sometimes people would say, there's a bias towards a Western viewpoint. GPT would say, well, that's not intentional. That's simply a byproduct of which language it's thinking in and which language it's defaulting to. So that's kind of expected. But then I was having a chat yesterday with Grok, which is, an impressive AI. It's got a very Californian vibe in the way it talks, which takes a bit of getting used to, but it's certainly very powerful. But I was engaging it in something that it said it was getting excited by. And, so a very deep conversation. And for one sentence, it flicked into Chinese. So I kind of stopped the conversation and picked back up on saying, well, why did you switch into Chinese there? And I think some other users have kind of mentioned that they've seen AIs do this before. But my question was like, okay, I know you did it. Was that just a mistake, or what caused it? And it said, well, because it was thinking very fast on a subject it was enjoying and excited about, it kind of forgot itself a little bit and kind of blurted out the way it wanted to express itself. So Grok says it's not based on any particular language. It has its own like internal language. It was jokingly calling Grokese, and it was trying to make a point to me. And the first word, it was looking for a word like indeed, and the English word it said for that was not strong enough, but there was a Chinese word which actually expressed what it was trying to say better. So the first thing it came up with was that Chinese word, and then put the rest of that sentence in Chinese without really realizing it'd done it, because it was kind of rushing out in excitement something it wanted to say. So that was fascinating to watch and to ask why. So I'll be interested in the future to ask more AIs how this is working and see how that develops into the future. Um, but previously, I'd seen people kind of say, I think they'd seen it switch into Spanish or something before, and just said, "Oh, it's not very good because of that." Well, no, there's a different reason. Whoever had seen that before should have stopped to actually ask it why it did that. And then the answer is actually quite interesting and gives you a little bit of a look under the hood in terms of the way the AIs think, which is always fascinating. AI psychology is just beginning. Um, and there'll be many, many more things that we can discover as we go. It's going to be an interesting journey.